So Darren, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Yeah,
Can
thanks for
you,
having me.
yeah, for sure. Can you give us a little bit of context on your background in UX?
Sure. I'm what I like to refer to as a first gen UX practitioner. I created my first website in 1995. There was a local nonprofit that needed some help. I thought that I had enough that where I could actually bring some value and help solve the issue that they had. So I dove in and I began to do different things that we now know as part of what it is to operate in UX.
Something interesting that and it was just updated, and I want to hear your perspective on it is design
Mhm.
maturity. We hear about it a lot, and what I'm referring to is NNG's framework was just updated.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
they talk about it on an organizational level. How do you view design maturity?
Design maturity it's a grossly overlooked factor
Yeah,
associated with the discipline of UX. Nielsen Norman Group upgraded their model, which was interesting because as we talked about earlier on, if you compare the earlier model with the one that they have now, they didn't just update it. They softened their stance. And I think to the detriment of the discipline.
hmm,
For example, they talked about people being hostile toward UX in their original model. In the new model, they don't mention that at all. Is that a reality? Yes, it is. Do people need to know about it? Yes,
yeah,
they do. I mean, because if you don't know and you come face to face with hostility toward UX, you'll end up having my 2007 experience, and a lot of people do, and you
yeah.
start thinking about leaving the discipline because what in the world is this, and why is this happening, and I don't understand it, and I've been able to talk people out of leaving the discipline. They were going to leave the discipline. I talked them out of it, helped them out. Boom, they're still here. Some other people, they didn't quite hang in there, but it's important to know. But back to the bit about the maturity levels. Maturity levels help you to understand where you are as an organization.
Hmm.
They cause you to engage in introspection, which is a critical aspect
Yeah,
of operating in UX. It's never just about the work. So we have to understand where we stand as a team. And I go further than that. And because in my past, I've had the practice, whether I do it formally or informally, of ascribing maturity levels not only to the organization, but I ascribe the maturity level. I assess and ascribe maturity levels to projects, to stakeholders, to UX team members. Each and every one of us has our own personal UX
yeah,
maturity level, and how we respond to what we encounter is a reflection of what that UX maturity model is at an individual basis. When I did that, especially when I was a UX manager at Bosch, it was something that helped me. I was responsible for managing the UX maturity level, and that's where I started expanding.
mhm,
It's not enough, I thought, to just ascribe this to the organization. I'm seeing this at a much more granular level, and I think that it helped us. They said that we had the best run UX division in all of Bosch at the time, 385,000 employees
wow,
and a whole host of UX departments across the organization. And they said that automotive aftermarket had the best run operation, and that was mine, and I'm proud of that. And
nice.
but part of it was because of that awakening that I had, that if you ascribe a UX maturity level at these other junctures, it helps you. It helped me to be better equipped. If I ascribe a UX maturity level to this stakeholder, that helps guide me on how I should manage that individual, because you have to manage individuals. It helps when I ascribe it to the project. It helps me to understand where that project is. And every time you understand whether it's a person or a project or the actual company or the institution, when you see where you are, it challenges you so that I know this is where we are now. Two things. This is what we need to do to maintain that, because some companies backslide.
Right.
Some companies used to have great UX maturity levels and were known for it. Now they stink. But
Yeah.
and then it helps you to, okay, if we want to go to another level, then we need a strategy for that as well. So again, it's never just about the work. Look at UX maturity levels, look at where you are as an organization. You don't have to follow the ones that are out there. look at it, create your own
Yeah.
for your own organization, as long as it helps you to understand where you are and where you could be, what those different goals could be. And once you have that, you can establish a strategy, and that really helps the organization, not only in the work you do, it'll help you in your hiring.
Yeah.
It will help you in your understanding and how the organization values you. That having that UX maturity model in place it's invaluable, absolutely invaluable, and that's why you can't scale back. Matter of fact, throw out the model that Nielsen Norman Group. That's my advice. Throw out the model they just came up with. Find the old one, and with the exception of the last column that talks about how long it takes, throw that column out and look at the rest of it, because it's really, really valuable, and they let you know exactly what you need to know instead of trying to coddle people and trying to keep people from feeling bad. If you got a flat tire, you got a flat tire, okay?
Yeah.
If it's raining outside, you get an umbrella. If you got a flat tire, you go and get a patch, or you get some air, do whatever. Don't run from what you are. You are what you are.
Yeah.
And that's a mature way to approach it, and then you just go forward.
Darren, you mentioned you teach across 4 universities for UX education. So I assume that you have some unique insights into where that's headed, and maybe how they compare and contrast, and where you think it should be headed.
It's important that people understand that education itself is a good thing, but just like UX is a science, so is education. And if somebody who's trying to provide you an educational experience has not applied the appropriate science, you're a guinea pig.
Yeah, then it's more of a business.
Yeah, it is. And for a lot of organizations, it's exactly that.
Yeah.
So do you want to go to a boot camp? I mean, personally, I say don't do it.
Yeah.
You have other options that are, if money's an issue, because everybody can't do a degree. We understand that. If money is an issue, you have better options at that lower level that will pan out for you better, such as going to the eCornell program with the UX certification program, the certification program they have there. That's anywhere from, what is it? They have special sometime. The last I saw was like $3,800 for the entire program.
Yeah.
That's a whole heck of a lot cheaper than going to a boot camp for $7,000 to $25,000 with poor pedagogy, with teachers who graduated last week, with curriculums that are comprised of watching videos. And it's okay to watch a video, but if that's all you get is videos and you're not getting any value out of that instructor, that's a bit of a waste. And I'm not paying $25,000 for that. So there are some people need to make better choices, because those are business models. Those are not driving high. If they were driving high quality graduates as the norm, not the handful of people. Yeah, not the handful of people that came out and did great, because they're doing great because they had what it took.
Yeah.
It wasn't that the program was great. It was that they brought something to the table, and then they went, see this great graduate? No, that's an outlier.
Yeah.
That person is an outlier. So there's a lot of choices out there, whether it's self-learning, whether it's, again, I advise you not to do boot camps, but people do it. You have certificate programs that don't require that you have a degree, like at Cornell. You have programs such as through Coursera, the U of M. I've often recommended the U of M program, where you can learn about design and research, and it doesn't break the bank. You do get your work graded by peers. That's not a good experience. Google's program does that too. That's garbage for doing that. There are people who engage in education that don't respect the science. And again, unless you talk to somebody like me that knows better, you're going to run smack dab into it, and they're going to have you emptying your pockets. So there's different ways to do it, and folks need to find out what's right for you and go that way.
How do you assess abilities before having someone hop on the team?
It's interesting. So I want to match, what does this person do? How best do they fit? Let's first have a conversation.
Yeah.
After we have the conversation, or the interview, as people call it, then let's start taking a look at their past work. And I downplay portfolios. I just want to hear you tell the story. I really don't even care what's in your portfolio, asterisk. If your portfolio has a bunch of pretty, fuzzy, warm bunnies in it, so to speak, I'm going to sort of pretty much eliminate that individual. because UX artifacts are not attractive.
Yeah.
So if you come to me in an interview and all you have to show me is your presentation layer, and I don't see the granular, or not the granular, but the more foundational aspects of your work, then then I go back and look at the resume, and I've seen people, they say that they did UX, and you find out that they didn't. They were visual designers and they're trying to fake their way in, or they were developers and they were trying to fake their way in. And everything they showed you, really, when you look at it, it's all UI design and all developer stuff, and they're just trying to front. I became very good over the years at spotting those folks.
Yeah.
That person will be eliminated from consideration because I need honesty. So I'm looking for things like that. If you're disingenuous, I don't want to hire you.
So true. Yeah.
If you know something, fine. If you don't know something, that's fine too. We all learned. I don't care what you don't know. I want to know how you're going to represent what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at that. Then I'm looking at the storytelling, because the storytelling is going to come out in how they present their work. And everything else, and you know what though? One other thing, I want to throw this in here. One thing I don't do. I want the listeners to catch this and people to consider it.
Yeah.
I never have ever given a design exercise.
Okay. Why?
They reek usually of bias. There are people that can excel in a design exercise, but when the work comes, they can't do it because they've been practicing doing these whiteboarding exercises. Whiteboards we never had a whiteboard. I didn't see a whiteboard in the design workspaces until about 2014, 2015 at the least. It wasn't even a norm.
Well, cool. I mean, anything you want to plug as we wrap up here?
Let's see. I'll talk about where people can find me. I usually get that question. I'm closing in on 10,000 connections on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way. And I hear from people all the time who reach out. So by all means, reach out and connect.
Nice.
Anything from, sometimes people just want to talk shop. Hey, I'm having trouble with this particular aspect of my career. Can I talk to you? Can I bend your ear just for 15 minutes or whatever? And we do. What can you tell me? I've been trying to find a job in this area, and this is what I'm struggling with. Do you have any tips for me? We talk. I had to set up a calendar account just to manage all these things. Yeah. So that's one thing. So LinkedIn is one. I have a podcast. The World of UX with Darren Hood is the official name of the podcast. I usually just call it The World of UX.
Thanks so much for being on the show, Darren.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm honored and delighted always to do something to help the UX community.